Well, hi, everybody. Todd Nash, Senate District 29. We're starting into the third week of the short session here, and I apologize for not keeping you updated on the first couple of weeks, but been flying by here and quite honestly, haven't had a lot of time to do extra tasks, but things have solidified here just a little bit and thought it was an appropriate time. Had a little break this afternoon. And I will bring you up to speed on the bills that I carried and some of the other things that are happening down here. So to start with, some of the bills that I carried, talked about during the last update from Ledge Days. There was Senate Bill 1578, and that was a housing bill that would allow counties with low density populations, and that threshold was 30 people per square mile. And that pretty much included every county east of Deschutes County and some of those around the state that or even one or two over on the coast. But 19 counties total is what it included. And that bill would allow development of up to 50 acres and put what was otherwise resource land into housing. And then it would concentrate the housing so that we were getting at least 5 houses per acre and not just one McMansion for the whole 50 acres. And then limit the size to 1,200 square feet so that we were trying to target really workforce housing and target also first-time home buyers, school teachers, policemen, retirees, and try to really get accommodations for those folks that may be challenged otherwise. We saw a template for that outside of Stanfield, Oregon, and that was really the inspiration for this bill. They have a successful little residential area that if you have opportunity there to talk to some of the folks that have bought those places, they're quite happy with them. And anyway, really sorry and disappointed. Last Thursday, I forced that to a vote, which is pretty rare to get a vote forced when you don't have all the committee stacked and already going to vote for something. But I forced it to a vote in committee and it went down on party line. And that was a real heartbreak. And 2 Democrats from the Portland area voted it down, 1 from the Salem area, and fellow Republican, and I don't care if it's an R or a D, quite frankly, but in this case, my fellow Republican on the committee, Senator Anderson from the coast, was the other positive vote. And but we failed on that, and like I said, real heartbreak. I'll talk just a little bit more about that here in a minute. We also lost a bill this morning, and we had more people sign up as sponsors on this bill than any other. It had tons of support. In fact, on OLIS, I think there were 31 letters of support and not one in opposition. But the dynamics of what Salem is sometimes doesn't lend toward just power of the people. And so I want to thank Isaac Insko that worked incredibly hard on this bill. I kind of turned the whole thing over to Isaac, and he did everything perfect. And but in the end, there was one lobby from the food industry that had some concerns. I had asked them specifically to come up with some specifics why they should kill this bill, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the bill itself here in a second, but couldn't come up with a specific instance where it would do any harm to people that were distributing food, either in state or out of state, or coming into the state. And so the labeling was to make sure that if a product said meat on it, it was not lab grown meat. It wasn't fake meat. It had to be clearly labeled so that it was a plant-based product. And going back the other way, it was, not only to protect those who had concerns about buying supposed meat that wasn't real meat, but also to protect, if you were a vegetarian, making sure that there wasn't an animal-based product in that. And like I said, we had really bipartisan, bicameral support, and it ended up failing. We are going to have a work group on that in the interim, and if you're interested in serving on that or having input on that, please get a hold of our office. There was some excitement around this. There's been concerns for a long time, and we really wanted to head it off. But the lab-grown meat, cell-cultured meat, 3D printed steaks, all of those things are a little bit of a concern, and we wanted to get ahead of that. And so there we are, folks. That died without a work session this morning, and it wasn't our largest priority by any means, but it's kind of the way our session's been going here a little bit. The brake check bill, that was the bill that the governor vetoed last time, and heard me talk about it before. There's a shortage of large animal veterinarians in the state of Oregon, but really around the country. And we need to address that at some point. We need to incentivize large animal veterinarians, but we have places where they just can't get around and service everybody that needs to be serviced. And the veterinarian community was opposed to this bill, and it's never a comfortable place for me and others to be in. Some of those people you respect so much, but there's a real need right now to be able to have qualified people to do pregnancy checking of cattle. And there's a lot of them that are very competent at it. And timing wise, we thought this was a time when we need to address this. Brought this bill back after being vetoed, and it made it out of committee. And so that one's going to be going forward. I expect to have a floor vote on it sometime this week. I haven't seen it scheduled yet, but I think it'll come out to the Senate floor, and I have every reason to believe that it'll pass off the floor. Other bill that was our biggest priority this session was to get permanent funding for Wolf Comp, and that came by way of a House bill. And Representative Owens, Representative Helm, they were both chief sponsors on the House side, and I want to thank both of those guys so much. Man, this has been a struggle to get this through. And they had a positive hearing on it today in the House Revenue Committee, and that bill is 4134, and it passed out. Wow, it's been tough. A lot of people have been working on this. Oregon Cattlemen's Association has been working double time on it and trying to support the producers that have lost so much, and to try to not necessarily make them whole, but get them in a better spot. This would provide over $3 million per biennium for Wolf Comp. Right now, we're running at a pace that's higher than that. About $4.3 million is what's predicted for the next this biennium that we're in right now. And we don't have enough, folks. And this bill won't come into effect until 27. So we're going to be short. I'm going to try to ask for a little more money to prop up the wolf compensation program the best we can. We changed the policy with Senate Bill 777 last year. Good bill. We got support all the way through. In the end, this particular bill that we're looking at here right now, it failed due to a maneuver that was put in at the last minute, and a minority report was put in. It didn't pass out. Really unfortunate, but we're back again. It's not a done deal. It's got to go to the floor of the House, where it's going to have a tight vote. It's got to come over to the Senate side, where it's got to get through the Revenue Committee, and then on out to the Senate floor. And it's going to be tough, folks. It's not a comfortable place for me. to vote for an additional tax to support something, but it's a small amount of money when you go to rent a hotel, but we have ranchers that are losing tens of thousands of dollars. And they're, for the last 15 years, I and others have tried to get a steady stream of funds for Wolf Comp, and we've just never got it done. And so this is our attempt to find that steady stream of money. And if you're a lodging owner and you're really frustrated at this extra $1.25 coming out of every $100, I understand. Beyond wolf compensation, though, there's some things in here that I think are of relevance to those that are visiting our state. And wildlife is a big part of why people come here. So there is money in there for state police, for anti-poaching. There's a wildlife stewardship fund. There's a wildlife connectivity. And so some of those places where deer and elk are consistently getting hit by vehicles, maybe we can do something to support that. And when we have opportunity to funnel them into an underpass, or maybe there'll be money enough for an overpass someday. But at any rate, try to mitigate that a little bit better than what we've been doing. There's also money in there for invasive species and invasive weeds. And so there's some good things in this package that help keep Oregon wildlife healthy, ranchers whole, and hopefully keep your vehicle from getting mangled by a deer or elk at some point, and keep a deer or elk from getting killed. I think they're all positive things. If I had my druthers, we probably wouldn't have any wolves here in the first place, and I wouldn't be advocating for this at all. But we lost that battle a long time ago. We need to have better control of wolves. We need to have federally delisted wolves on 3/4 of the western part of Oregon, and we're working on that. If you see one of our federal partners, you can remind them that we did delist wolves in the state of Oregon November 9th of 2015. This state decided that it would no longer have a state listing. That goes clear across the state of Oregon. But without that federal portion of it, it's pretty frustrating. It's hard to manage wolves when you have that federal overlay. Oh, beyond that, some other big things that are going on here, and you've seen some of it taking place that are at a higher level. Those bills like 1507 that decouple our tax code from what HR1, the big beautiful bill, and we just had a vote on that on the Senate floor this morning. I had a lot of farmers, ranchers come in and talk about accelerated depreciation that's in that bill and how much that would help with purchase of equipment. And we lost that battle. There are some things that are in there that are going to be helpful to Oregon. And there's going to be some things overall that are going to tax Oregon about $300 million more than they would have had we not passed this out. It's going to go over to the House, and I fully expect it to pass out of the House. But it's an interesting place to be down here in Salem. Sometimes, they want to find a consensus and before we move forward and really negotiate things. And there's other times that we just roll. And I haven't figured it all out. This has been a discouraging couple of weeks in a lot of ways, but we keep moving forward. Another bill that you hear a lot about is Senate Bill 1599. And that's the bill that is the attempt to move the date of the referendum that everybody worked so hard on, collected 250,000 signatures on the gas tax, and that is moving that date from November. And that's what you signed at the top of that petition. It said November, the date that would be voted on. And it's disheartening, disingenuous to see the Democrat Party, and I don't want to make this all partisan, but that's the way it's lining up here, folks. And so they want to move it to the May ballot. I don't think that they themselves want to be on the ballot with a gas tax that they voted for. I don't think that they want to have the governor on the ballot at the same time as a gas tax is getting voted for in a November ballot. And so the way that they are forcing this through, the language in there that forces the Supreme Court to make a decision, the timelines that are laid out for the Secretary of State, there are some difficulties there and probably some real breaches of what are in statutory law. And we have some lawyers that are looking at that, and there may be some legal challenges, more to come on that. But I want to support best I can, and you guys sign that ballot. You worked hard to collect the signatures. I want to honor you the best I can with what I do down here. I don't think we're going to be able to stop it, but there's been discussion about maneuvers that we could do to actually stop that process from happening. I'm just not sure we can do it. So anyway, more to come on that, but you all need to remember when you go to the ballot box, if it's May or November, take that into consideration, what took place there. I will tell you, it's not a very healthy place to be in a super minority and then have a governor that's stacked the other way. Oregon's been in this situation for a while now. And when you don't have to negotiate at all, that's what happens in these situations. And it is not healthy. I am going to touch on the housing bill one more time. I said I'd come back around to that. And I want you to know that we worked on this and we came up with this concept. And when I said we, I served as a county commissioner in Wallowa County for 8 years. And so I gravitate toward that local control and having local input. And so me and other Eastern Oregon commissioners, we worked on this together. And we refined the concept a little bit. I ran the bill last year. It didn't work. Ran it again this year. County commissioners lined up from all over the state. So we had Eastern Oregon County commissioners lining up to testify. We had the Association of Oregon Counties that represents all 36 counties. It had passed through their legislative concept. And so even those metro counties like Washington and Multnomah, they supported this concept. But when we got to committee, here's what happens. You have groups like Thousand Friends of Oregon that for some reason have a tremendous stranglehold on this legislative process. And it's very perplexing to me. Most of those that oppose this, they either didn't understand or they didn't trust you to make the most relevant decision in your own community. And so this, again, this 50 acres that we're talking about, I gave the example of Harney County, 6,400,000 acres in Harney County, 7,000 residents, and we're talking about the development of up to 50 acres. Now, most of the people that live in Harney County felt like they could find 50 acres that wouldn't be high value farmland. And it was the same we heard from Gillum County, and the judge there in Gillum County, she did a great job. 850,000 acres. They have, I think 2,000 people live in Gillum County, and they are in need of more housing. They're in need of housing for retirees, for those people that work in town that work out at their large landfill facility. And they felt like they could find 50 acres without compromising valuable farm ground there. And we just didn't get there. And the people that actually live in these places and represent and are elected to represent were disregarded for special interest lobby and a few loud voices. And that is tremendously disheartening to me that takes place down here. I left Thursday here extremely discouraged with what had taken place there. And I feel like you guys, all of you, were disrespected. And I really question the fact of whether I'm the right person to represent you or not, because in what should have been something that was a slam dunk to pass through, didn't get through. The governor says she wants more housing available. We hear it from people all over here in Salem about the need for more housing. And then when we come up with our own solution in rural Oregon, we get shot down. And so super discouraging. This allowed counties to either opt in or opt out. And I don't know what to say other than we're going to reboot. We're going to try it again. We'll come back in 27. We're actually going to put some amendments in and some other bills. And so you may see some other people have to vote for it again. And I would love to get it to the governor's desk and have her vote it down. Well, I'd like to see her vote for it, but um, I love the fact that these folks, we forced them to a vote, made them vote, and um, at least everybody gets to see what's happening. So many of these deals happen behind closed doors, but we forced that one out in the open. Last thing I want to bring up, I have been offered to put an Eastern Oregon package together. What does Eastern Oregon want? And so I think, everything from our needs for housing, what, wildlife and maybe predator control might look like different, some funding, maybe some funding for county fairgrounds that would increase. Our priorities are wildly different than the priorities of what most of these legislators are, and it sounds foreign to them. I mean, even talking about FFA and how important and vital that is to us, the $1.1 million that they were looking at cutting for FFA, and we still haven't seen if that's absolutely safe or not. Excuse me. We think it is, but um, we need to have legislators come out. We need to talk to them. We need to be respectful and need to say what our desires are. And so if you have input on what would be a great thing to put in a package for Eastern Oregon counties, please, you can talk to me, but certainly talk to your county commissioners because I use them as a conduit all the time. And representing 11 counties, 7 whole counties, 4 partial counties, it's really important for me to have those connections with those individuals. Cities the same way. I represent more cities, more counties than anybody else in the state. 40 counties in Senate District 29, or 40 cities in Senate District 29, and talk to your city mayors, and we will try to put something together that best represents Eastern Oregon. But folks, I probably went way too long here today. I appreciate you all. Honored to serve. I wish I had better news all the way around. We're going to hang in here, see this session on out, and come back and do it again here in another year or so. Thanks again, and we will see you soon.